Welcome to the 4th episode of my captaining series, where I will teach you everything I believe is essential to becoming a great team captain. Be sure to check out the playlists for the full guide. I highly recommend watching them all in order. Without further ado, today's episode is focusing on team composition, specifically the unimportance of meta in low level and what to do in a weapon crisis. Team composition is the weapons in your roster. First, let's go over meta. The meta is talked about a lot, but in low level and especially in a new team, meta is not as important as you would think. Here's how .q, the carry of Jackpot, according to the Twitter poll, explains it. Meta is pretty much defined as what weapons are the best in the current patch. I think comps with those specific weapons should be prioritized only if you understand how the comp functions inside and out. Don't run it just because it's meta. If you don't know what you're doing or what your role is in the comp, then don't bother. I've seen mid-level teams attempt to do this and ultimately they just fail because there is zero direction or understanding. Kurta of Secret Elixir says, meta in low level isn't necessarily a priority. It's good to play with what you are good at and what best benefits you and your team. You will run into a lot of different comps and weapons in low level, so it's good to practice and experiment with what works and what doesn't. But when you get into mid-level, you will start to notice that off-meta picks versus meta picks, even at a similar skill level, the meta usually wins. Then it comes down to basically out-mechanicking the other team, but if your skill levels are equal, meta wins most of the time. Best advice is to experiment while you are in low level. See what works and what doesn't, but in the future, if you want to become mid to high level, having that meta option is good to have. Rice, another member of Secret Elixir, is here to explain how meta has affected his team in mid-level.
So, for how important is meta starting out and what happens in mid-level, at least how I first approached it, finding what is fun and you enjoy about it is more important than if your weapon is meta or not. Sometimes it's hard to find a team if the weapons you play isn't meta, but it's also being open-minded, right? From you have this weapon pool that you enjoy. From there, you sort of want to narrow down a role or weapon class that you want to go for. When I first started off, I knew that I liked playing shooters and I played mainly support role. And I also enjoyed sloshers, so that was always something in my pocket. And as a meta grows, right, I can pick from both pools of a shooter or a slosher. Although both of those don't necessarily fill in that support role, it's sort of the way I think about playing the game. In terms of a support might not be the same as how someone like a Slayer or a backline thinks of the game. And that's sort of why I sort of dropped it for a bit and just pretty much focus on shooters I'm the most confident in. Just play what you enjoy, and from there, narrow down a role. And then if you're willing to learn and adapt meta, you have that building block. So as a player for me, thankfully, most or not all the metas that I've had been in have weapons I enjoyed playing or weapons that I was thinking of picking up anyways. An example would be when ballpoint got more meta, and even though that's not my primary role, it's just something that, I have in the back pocket. But for Secret Elixir, we usually look at what the meta is and see what we can adapt or change our comp around to adjust to what the meta is. We're all willing to do what we can to do our best. I think mainly in mid-level, you see teams that use meta more often, but you also see those one-off teams that play off meta. What's important is building around what that off-meta weapon is. So per se, if it was Range Blaster, you need to build a comp around that. And I think that's sort of what low level doesn't always understand in terms of okay, I'm playing off-meta, this person's playing off-meta, this other person's playing off-meta, and it works until you aren't mechanically just beating your opponents. You need to actually have strategy, synergy with the weapons. So when playing off-meta, teams are building comps around one off-meta pick, and then you just focus and make sure that one off-meta pick is doing what it can do best, and the things around it complement it the most.
Here's some more thoughts I've gathered from friends. Feel free to pause and read them fully. The next problem a lot of teams run into is the weapon crisis. This is when your team keeps changing weapons every time you lose, thinking that the weapon is the problem. There have been countless times that after teams lose to my team's comp of Glooga, Inkbrush, Stamper, and ends up 89, our opponent would swap off their main to pull out a meta weapon. Whether it was splashes, shots, or machines, it has been incredibly consistent that players would swap to something completely different from their original role. While it seems like being flexible with weapon picks is a good thing, as you now know, needing to run meta isn't the issue. It is too often that we'll see players with 5-star badges for blasters and umbrellas pull out a V-shot in tournament, and we're left incredibly confused why they don't just play their favorite weapon. This problem even happens when the team already runs meta, or suddenly they'll replace one meta weapon with another meta weapon of a totally different role. The reason why it's bad to swap to meta just because it's meta is because it can potentially mess with the team balance, especially when you go outside your role. To learn more about roles, I highly recommend you watch Cookie's video that I've linked above. When you're having a weapon crisis, think about how you want your team to play. What is your team built around? How can you best enable your Slayer and/or backline? Find what works and what you find fun, and think about how you can make that strategy even stronger. Instead of changing from what you know, see what you can adapt to your weaknesses with the help of your teammates. Stick to one role and max 3 weapons of that role. As the Inkbrush one-trick of the team, I want to bring Inkbrush as far as possible in competitive, playing in my unique style. I paint way more than usual, averaging 7 whales a game, and act more like a support than most brush players. I started the team with my friend and moderator of 2 years, who loves playing the support role and especially Custom Junior and ends up 89. With this start, we knew we needed to add main slayers and some range to our team. The next addition would be our Glooga one-trick player, where we discovered the power of our chipping damage. With our consistent paint and constant pressure from bombs and whale, we could enable our best slayer. Since we already had a player that lacked a bomb and paint, all we were missing now was another slayer with decent paint, a bomb, and a more oppressive special to push up with. Soon, our fourth would reveal itself to be a Wiper and Stamper player. The range and chip of the torpedoes and burst bombs made it the perfect pair with our setup, and with aggressive specials that assisted us during crab meta, we made Div 7 with this comp. Since the start of our team in December 2022, we haven't changed our comp. Many times we've considered changing weapons, especially our Glooga, during the days Flounder was included in tourney map lists. After trying Slosher for a bit in scrims and noticing he wasn't having fun in the slightest, we talked with a coach that showed us how the rest of the team could change our positioning to enable our Glooga into the one hallway of Flounder he can perform in. Once we had the strategy, we realized a weapon change isn't always the answer. This finding helped all of us work better together as a team, and continues to surprise our opponents with our interesting comp.
We're going straight into what is effectively game 2 here, and very interesting composition. This is fine, opting to have an Inkbrush and Gloogas, QR Gloogas. You do not see that too often, but I have seen people absolutely tear it up with them. TBD opting to go.
As we do roll into Inkblock Academy zones right now with an Inkbrush coming out on This Is Fine.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. I'm actually very curious to see how This Is Fine is going to be working.
We're seeing an Inkbrush coming out from Kale. I like that. I always underestimate Inkbrushes, and then they do flashy stuff. And then we got Gloogas as well on This Is Fine. Very, very interesting choice.
You can certainly change weapons for specific map modes for preference, but I hope you will consider taking on the challenge rather than giving up right away. Before you make a swap, think about how it affects your team's strategy. I believe low level is the most fun stage in competitive because it's where you'll meet other teams to be fond of and get to know as friends or scrim partners to grow alongside due to the abundance of tournaments and teams. Playing in competitive doesn't mean you'll inevitably swap to meta in the future. It's the introduction to basic coordination that once you get it, the feeling of accomplishment is one of the best feelings. Play what you like, because in low level, anything can work in a coordinated team. To give you an idea, the winners of Low Ink April 2022 ran Sploosh, Explosher, Dynamo, and Splash during Double Machine Double Crab meta. While playing meta picks may help you win fights, if you don't understand the basics and utilize the advantage that meta gives you, you will struggle against a coordinated off-meta team. Don't limit your competitive main to something meta just because it's meta. Learn the fundamentals of team play with the weapon you love, and you will enjoy yourself so much more. That's all for now. If you are enjoying the series so far, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time, where some very special guests will be joining me as we go over how you can run your team with a co-captain or scrim manager.